They keep hitting him. Told ya.
Have I got your attention?
Yeah, man, you could say that. You've got to put your mind to your wedding.
In the chaos of World War II, London wasn't just battling bombs. It was also fighting a secret war on its streets. Picture this. While the city's skies blazed with explosions, a different kind of fireworks lit up the shadows below. Enter the gangsters. These weren't your ordinary folk. They were the rulers of the underworld, thriving in the pandemonium of war. According to an article published in Aspects of History, in one case in 1944, a gang stole 14,000 newly issued ration books and sold them on the black market for a total estimated profit of £70,000, approximately £3 million in today's money. Another case featured the forgery of clothing coupons. The going black market rate for a forged coupon was £10 or £400 today. Large numbers of these were sold on the streets of London. Billy Hill. Alright, let's talk about Billy Hill, a big name in London's gangster scene back in the day. Picture a slick-looking guy, always dressed sharp, with a smile that could charm anyone. That was Billy. Growing up in the tough East End, Billy didn't have it easy. But instead of playing it straight, he dove headfirst into a life of crime. He was good at it too. From small-time theft to big-league racketeering, Billy rose through the ranks like nobody's business. And then there's his crew, the Hill Mob. They weren't your average bunch. They were Billy's closest pals, just as clever and sneaky as he was. Together, they ran the show in London, causing chaos wherever they went.
Robbery. Male gang in 10,000 raid. London bandits grabbed 13,000. 20,000 raid on London Bank.
At the other end of the phone was the notorious Billy Hill, described as a self-confessed criminal. Hill, filmed here by Pathy News, points out there's been no conviction against him for 10 years. He's in...
This is my father, Billy Hill. He was known as boss of Britain's underworld. This was his apartment on Moscow Road, Bayswater.
But Billy's story wasn't just about crime. It was full of twists and turns, like daring heists and narrow escapes. Billy Hill came into this world in St. Pancras, London, born to parents Amelia Jane and Septimus James Hill, who tied the knot in 1895. Now, here's where things get interesting. Billy didn't exactly grow up in your average family. Nope, he was born into a family with a long history of, shall we say, questionable activities. From a young age, Billy was no stranger to trouble. In fact, he made his debut in the world of crime at just 14 when he committed his first stabbing. Talk about starting young. As he got older, Billy's reputation as a troublemaker only grew. He started out as a house burglar in the late 1920s, but he soon set his sights on bigger things. By the 1930s, he was all about those smash and grab raids, especially when it came to furriers and jewelers. Billy wasn't one to shy away from a challenge, that's for sure. Let us discuss his criminal career. During World War II. Billy Hill shifted his focus to the black market, where he specialized in dealing with scarce goods like food and petrol. He didn't stop there, though. Billy also dabbled in providing fake documents for servicemen who wanted to desert and got involved in protection rackets in the West End alongside his fellow gangster, Jack Spot. Talk about keeping busy during wartime. But trouble seemed to follow Billy wherever he went. In the late 1940s, he found himself in hot water after being accused of burgling a warehouse. Not one to stick around and face the music, Billy hightailed it to South Africa. However, his escape was short-lived as he got himself into trouble there too, landing himself in jail for assault. Eventually, he was sent back to England where he was convicted for the warehouse robbery and served some time behind bars. But that wasn't the end of Billy's adventures. After his release, he met a lady named Gypsy Riley, who would become his common-law wife. Together, they embarked on even more daring escapades. In 1952, Billy masterminded the infamous East Castle ST postal van robbery, pulling off a heist that raked in a whopping £287,000, which would be worth millions today. And he didn't stop there. In 1954, he orchestrated a bullion heist worth £40,000. But here's the kicker, nobody ever got caught for these jobs. Billy wasn't just about robbery, though. He also had his fingers in smuggling operations, running things from as far as Morocco. And if you think his story couldn't get any more thrilling, think again. In 1955, he penned his memoir, Boss of Britain's Underworld, where he spilled the beans on his life of crime. But Billy wasn't just about taking, he was also a mentor, guiding the infamous Kray Twins, Ronnie and Reggie, in their early criminal endeavors. In late 1956, things took a dramatic turn for Billy Hill when the Home Secretary, Gwilym Lloyd George, gave the green light to tap his phone. At the time, London was in the grip of gang warfare, with Hill locked in a bitter feud with his former partner in crime, Jack Spot. When news of this unprecedented use of phone-tapping powers reached Parliament in June 1957, all hell broke loose. The leader of the opposition, Hugh Gaitskell, demanded answers, and Rab Butler, the Home Secretary, promised to look into it. He even considered withdrawing the evidence and asking the Bar Council to ignore it altogether. In the swinging 60s, Billy Hill found himself in a new hustle fleecing aristocrats at card tables. According to Douglas Thompson's book The Hustlers and a Channel 4 documentary titled The Real Casino Royale, Hill teamed up with none other than John Aspinall to pull off some serious cons at the Claremont Club. Former financial director of the club, John Burke, along with Hill's associate Bobby McHugh, spilled the beans, claiming that Aspinall and Hill worked together to rig the games and cheat wealthy players out of their fortunes. It was a sophisticated operation, and they had a clever trick up their sleeves known as the Big Edge. Billy Hill died on January 1, 1984, when he was 69 years old. He didn't die because of any violence or bad stuff. He passed away from natural causes. After a life full of adventure and being in the middle of London's shady world, he finally left us peacefully. The Krays. The individuals we know in history as Reginald and Ronald Kray were twins born on October 24, 1933, in Hoxton, located in the East End of London, England. Their father, Charles David Kray, was born on March 10, 1907, in Shoreditch, also situated in the East End of London. Despite the surname Kray having Austrian origins, the Krays descended from gypsies and hailed from a working-class background. Charles's father worked as a stall holder at Petticoat Lane Market in London. Charles himself earned a living as a dealer in wardrobes and jewelry. When World War II began in 1939 and compulsory military service was enforced, Charles chose not to participate. Instead, he spent more than 2 decades evading authorities who were seeking him as a deserter. The Kray twins were called to serve in the British Army in March 1952. But instead of staying, they left the depot at the Tower of London soon after arriving. One of them punched a corporal who tried to stop them, causing a serious injury. The twins were arrested by the police the next morning and handed over to the army. While they were supposed to be in the army, the twins didn't stay where they were supposed to be. They got in trouble for leaving without permission and for hurting a police officer who tried to catch them. They were sent to a military prison in Somerset to wait for their trial. After they were found guilty, they were sent to a jail in Kent. Even though their time in the army wasn't great, when they got out of jail, the Krays acted like they were soldiers. Ronnie even called himself the Colonel, and their house was nicknamed Fort Valence. The Kray twins' boxing careers ended because of their bad behavior and being kicked out of the army. So they decided to become full-time criminals. They bought a rundown snooker club in Mile End and started demanding money from people there for protection. By the late 1950s, they were working with a guy from Liverpool named Jay Murray and were doing things like stealing trucks, robbing people with guns, and setting things on fire. They used the money from these crimes to buy more clubs and buildings. In 1960, Ronnie got sent to jail for 1.5 years for making people pay him money to keep them safe. While he was in jail, another guy named Peter Rackman sold Reggie a nightclub called Esmeralda's Barn to stop the twins from bothering him anymore. This club is where the Berkeley Hotel is now. Having Esmeralda's Barn made the Kray twins even more famous and powerful in the West End. They made strict rules, and if anyone didn't respect them, they would get in big trouble. The twins also made a lot of dirty money by betting on races with dogs and horses and by running businesses. This got other people in trouble because they helped the twins with their crimes. They got help from a banker named Alan Cooper, who was scared of another gang called the Richardson Gang. Ronnie, who wasn't very smart, liked to pretend he was a gangster from Chicago in the 1920s. He even had a barber come to his house to do his hair, just like he read in a book about Chicago gangsters. During the 1960s, the Kray Twins joined forces with the Commission, which was like the big boss of the American Mafia. They got in touch with Meyer Lansky and Angelo Bruno, two big mafia guys from New York. Lansky and Bruno wanted to invest in London's nightclubs and casinos to hide their dirty money. Detective Chief Superintendent Leonard Nipper Reed of Scotland Yard got a big promotion to the murder squad. His very first job in this new role was a tough one. He had to take down the Kray Twins. Reggie Kray died on October 1st, 2000, at the age of 66, due to bladder cancer. He passed away in Norwich, Norfolk, England, while still serving a life sentence for murder. Ronnie Kray died earlier on March 17, 1995, at the age of 61, due to a heart attack. He passed away in Broadmoor Hospital, Berkshire, England, where he was serving a life sentence for murder. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more videos.